Okay.
Yes. You know that you have 10 minutes
10 minutes.
to present.
Yes, of course. Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Wee. Good afternoon, Professor Valenzuela. I'm going to present you my research project about possible pedagogical and discursive purposes of using L1 in a secondary EFL instructional setting. Regarding Chilean educational context, English as a foreign language is a mandatory subject from preschool to high school. And the Ministry of Education states in its curricular proposal that the purpose of teaching English is that a student can participate in communicative situation. That is to say, learners need to progressively manage vocabulary and grammar. And regarding methodology, suggests to use communicative language teacher. However, it is common to see inside a Chilean classroom that teachers resort to L1 at any time during the lesson. So this could be triggered by different purposes or could be seen as a teacher's normal practice. Well, as this is an observational, as is this is a observational behavior, is that I state the object to study as trying to explain or the purposes of this resort to L1. Yes? Sorry, I get distracted. Regarding the background of L1 use in an EFL classroom, we have the natural approach by Stephen Krashen and Tracy Terrell that state that second language acquisition occurs similarly to the way children learn their first language. There is a kind of prohibition to use the mother tongue. However, there are several authors that support the use of L1 as a teaching tool. For example, to add variety to the lesson, as Tang states, L1 as a supporting and facilitating role that brings naturalness and spontaneity to the L2 acquisition. Or it could make that student make the difference between the two languages, as Ma and Scott de la Fuente state, scaffold L1 as a scaffolding instrument or as a cognitive strategy that brings effectiveness to the L2 production. Therefore, the research question would be, what are the purposes, if any, that the use of L1 may have in a Chilean EFL instructional setting in particular? To answer this question, first I have to describe the possible pedagogical and discursive functions that the use of L1 may have in a teacher-student interaction in a EFL in a specific context. To get into this, first I have to identify the instances, the pedagogical and discourse-related instances at which the teacher uses L1 and clarify why the teacher uses it inside the classroom. It is expected that via this, the expected result, the teacher should consider L1 as a teaching tool that could attract student attention, motivate the student, because it could reduce the frustration and anxiety levels inside the classroom, and also to promote the language content and comprehension. In terms of theoretical framework, first instances will be understood as any time that, any pedagogical or discourse-related time that the teacher resorts to Spanish inside the class. It's important to differentiate it from the moment of the class. Okay, so instances will be understood as any pedagogical or discursive time. And pedagogical function will be understood as, according to Mohebi and Alabi, that is the use of Spanish for organizing the classroom, managing the classroom, and giving instruction for teaching and testing. That is to say, therefore, pedagogical function inside this research study will be understood as the use of mother tongue with a teaching intention. And some of the functions that appear here in the research are, according to Morahan, as giving instruction, providing feedback, and classroom management. Those are the three pedagogical functions inside this research project. On the other hand, discursive function will be defined according to Cook, Vivian Cook, as how the teacher conveys the new meanings of the second language to the learner. And also, as Smith said, to promote meaning and help make input comprehensible. Therefore, discursive function will be understood as any time that the mother tongue is used to make the foreign language comprehensible. Okay, and the functions will be, according to Morahan again, as explaining meaning, explaining grammar, and facilitating comprehension. Those are the three discursive functions. In terms of the subject would be the secondary English teacher, who is the one who uses L1 inside the classroom. The English lessons will be in a 9th grade, and the lessons took place in the morning once a week at Escuela Jorge Alexander Rodriguez. The approach chosen is a mixed approach, mainly qualitative, because it intends to describe a specific scenario, understand the phenomena, and because of the data collection instrument, that in this case are observation records. And quantitative because of the data analysis, that in this case is coding. The methodological design responds to a descriptive study. Regarding Hernando Fernandez and Batista, the descriptive study, first the subject is observed in his natural environment. The variables cannot be manipulated, and it tends to describe the influence of these variables in a given moment. Therefore, and to sum up, the main aim is to describe the situation in a natural environment. That's why it's a natural paradigm, and without any intervention of the researcher. As a procedure, first the subject is selected, in this case the English teacher, and then the observational setting was defined. Because of the accessibility and because it's observable, In this case, the observational setting are the instances of the use of L1 during the lessons. Then, we categorize the information as the possible and discursive function. First, we identify the instances, and then we categorize it into the functions. Okay? Then their subcategories of those functions are the specific functions that mentioned on the theoretical framework. The next step was to select the data collection material that, as mentioned before, is observation records. As Hernando Fernandez Batista said, observation records is the systematic, valid, and reliable instrument to register the manifested behavior. In this case, the instrument will correspond as a coding sheet to observe behavior, taken also from Hernando Fernandez and Batista and adapted depending on the necessities of the research. Those categories and subcategories will have a code that later will be distributed in a coding matrix. To analyze then, those code will be analyzed with a frequency technique that Fernandez and Hernandez Batista said. The distribution of the frequency is defined as a ranking organized in its respective categories. That is to say, every pedagogical and discursive functions of will have a frequency, and those frequencies will be later triangulate through with the theory and with the categorization. The frequency will be with the observation records, and the theory will be triangulated. Okay, to make finally a reflection of the phenomena and to finally describe the phenomena. Finally, the expected outcomes of this research is to, as mentioned before, identify the pedagogical and discursive function, identify the moment of the class in which the teacher can resort to these functions, and identify the benefit of using L1 as a teaching tool so as to change the belief of seeing L1 as a negative aspect and use it as a tool. The limitations, in this case, the time constraint, because, as I mentioned before, one of the specific objectives is to know why the teacher resort to L1, if he has or not a specific purpose, and for that case could be interesting to make an interview with the teacher. But for time constraint, the teacher rationale will be like indirectly taken from the data. And